Hey everyone, this is John Burton, Carbot Animations, and I'm going to bring you a short tutorial, well hopefully short, try to keep it as short as I can, for animation. And I wanted to do something simple, something very easy to understand, and that applies to so much of like everyday animating kind of thing. If you animate, you'll probably use these principles throughout your animations, or at least once in your animation. Okay, right here we have a ball, and I'm just going to play, it's a bouncing ball. I'm going to play the ball for you. Alright, the ball is bouncing. Alright, now you probably notice that it looks kind of weird and funny. And why is that? Well, you can kind of tell that the ball does not slow down or speed up, really, at all. Now drawn or animated rather, a second ball. It's a red one. And you'll see a bit of a difference with this one. It looks a lot more like a bouncing ball than the yellow ball. Um, the red ball, as opposed to the yellow one, it slows down and speeds up at the appropriate times, whereas the yellow one just kind of, it moves the same speed the entire way through the animation. Okay, the bouncing ball, or the red one, acts more like a bouncing ball because when it hits the ground, goes up, starts to slow down, and then begins to drop again, and then repeat cycle. Hits the ground and bounces back up and speeds up, of course. All right. But now this ball still isn't. We can do better. Okay. And I have drawn a third ball, a blue ball, and we'll watch it animate. Now comparing it to the other two, or just to the red one, I guess, because that's better than the yellow. The blue ball looks a lot better, and the reason being is because of a principle called squashing and stretching. The blue ball, as opposed to the red one, though it has the same movement, actually all three of them have the exact same timing. They'll all hit the ground at the same time, they'll all peak at the same time, but the red ball will slow down and speed up at the appropriate times, and the blue ball will also slow down and speed up exactly the same as the red ball, except one difference is the squash and stretch. Now what is squash and stretch? Well, when it hits the ground, the ball squishes or squashes. And then when it bounces up, it stretches. You'll see it's an oval shape. It's easier to, if you're comparing it to the ball next to it. It's now an oval shape. As it peaks in its bounce, it begins to turn into a regular shaped ball again, and then it begins to drop, and once again it starts to a little bit turn into an oval, or stretch rather, and then you can tell a little bit more here that it is stretching still, and then it hits the ground once again, which squashes. Okay, so we'll just go through that again. Now the principles that I already kind of mentioned are: 1. Mechanical movement. The yellow ball is a mechanical type movement where it's the same pace all the way through. It feels very robotic. Okay. A lot of the times when people start to animate, they will animate with a mechanical movement because they don't realize that they need to space out their frames properly. They need to place the movement. Sometimes it's going to slow down, sometimes it's going to speed up. And that slowing down and speed up is an organic movement. So the red ball has an organic movement. It'll slow down, it'll speed up when appropriate. So for a ball bouncing, it speeds up when dropping and it speeds up when bouncing upward. But as it hits its peak, it'll slow down. The red ball slows down and is still slow as it slowly begins to drop, but then quickly speeds up again. All right, so that the red ball has organic movement, which is mostly what you want for animating, unless you want a specific type of style. Again, technically there is no real rules for animating. However, what makes a lot of animations look more appealing is that organic movement. Okay, but if you're looking for something ridiculously whatever, or a very I don't know, sometimes people aim for different things, and that's what makes it entertaining or funny. But I'm just saying, on a very general level, the organic movement is probably the way you want to go. Now the third one, the blue ball, has an organic movement as well, but a squash and stretch, as I kind of already said. And it squashes when it hits the ground, stretches when it speeds up. It feels a little bit more lifelike as well, and a lot more animated. Okay. Basically here, just for the ball, I took the same picture and I squished it a bit at the bottom, pushed it in. When it squashes, this is an important thing. You want to not only squish it down this way, press the edges, but you want to make the sides move out too. And same with when it stretches. You want to pull it, the top and bottom, the way it's going, or and push in the sides. You can see how this one, you're seeing the next frame and the last frame here and there, but you can see how the next frame, the width is it's a bit wider, and the previous frame, it's also wider, but it's also more squished as well. And this one is thinner but it's longer actually. If we did this here, just to, you can see that it is slightly. Let's go to the next frame. Slightly longer than the other one. And again, it repeats the cycle. Let me get rid of those arrows. Now I wanted to, okay, well, that's nice that you taught me to animate balls. Why are you showing me your balls, Carbot? How is this going to help me animate? Let's translate it to something else here. Okay, so let's do a. If you don't watch my cartoons, if you're just watching this for the tutorial, I do StarCraft cartoons, and there's Space Marines. So we're gonna do a Marine really quickly. It's probably not going to be the best, but actually, let's draw the regular Marine. This is the model that it generally kind of looks like. Here's a Marine. His visor, his arms. Okay, here's the Marine. I'm going to turn it into its own symbol. Okay, so it's its own entity. So what we want to do, this is just the, let's change this a little more visible here. Red, sure. I'm going to lock this layer, so pressing the lock button, and create a new layer. Okay, so now I'm on a different layer, and this is just going to be my guide of the proportions of the Marine, so I can stay on model, I guess. We want the Marine to jump just like, actually, you know what, let's not make it a break. We want the Marine to jump just like the ball is, okay? And he's going to do, if we want it to look good, we're going to do the organic movement plus a bit of squash and stretch. Squashing and stretching can be, you can exaggerate it all you want. It'll give a different feel to your animation style, which is totally cool. You can do it a little bit, which will still look nice. But here we go. So we're going to apply the principles of both the organic and the squash and stretch. So first we want him to jump. Now this is a cycle, so it's going to be his jumping and landing. But so in order to apply the organic movement, or sorry, the squash and stretch movement, we're going to squash him down. So here we go. We're bending his knees, keeping his feet in place. So there's a bit of a squashing with his knees. Again, squash this. Now I'm not just going to do it with the knees, although that would look okay. Obviously, I got to lower his body too, right here. But I'm going to squash his whole body. Stick his butt out a bit. Now remember, there you go. Now remember, not only am I pushing him down this way, but I have to make it, in order for it to hold its body, I guess, the volume of its body, have to push it out as well. Just as the knees come out, so should the body come out when he squishes down like this. So we got to do the visor now. Alright, before we get into the rest of the movement, we want to make our next keyframe. So that's the peak there. So our keyframe is basically, we'll have two here. One of them is what we just did now, the startup jump, or the landing, since it's a cycle. And the next one will be the jump in the air. So I'm just going to, just so that I can stay on model, I'm going to trace over my guide here. Except make him look like he's jumping. There's your. Okay, and then I can just select him and move him up. So this basically, for this keyframe, I'm saying how high do I want him to jump, and I guess I'll make him jump this high, up to the top of the letters there. So he's going to jump that high. We could play it right now and just to see, you kind of start the animation to take, it's starting to take form. Even with just the keyframes, you get the feel of the speed he's going to be jumping at. Okay, he's going to be jumping at the same speed of these balls, but if you didn't have the balls there. Oh, I need to move this frame over just by one. There we go. Okay. I didn't do his arms down here. Okay. Oh, by the way, arms go up as he goes down. This is, again, something you have to study while you're studying movement, which is animation, is how people jump. They raise their arms up as they go down to help push them up. And then when they jump up, their arms, as their body goes up, their arms go down. A little bit confusing, but once again, once you think about it, it's actually pretty simple. Okay, so just going to duplicate this layer so we can see this really easily. Oh, this layer too, I guess. So what I'm doing right now is just getting both keyframes visible. I can actually ignore my model now because I have both keyframes in place, and now we can start animating. Okay, so if we're going to follow the guide of the ball, so the Marine just started his jump, and he should be about right here now. Now what I'm going to do again is trace my keyframe. Why am I tracing up here? Is because just so I can, oops, I got to stretch him. That's right. Actually, you know what? Let's not make this complicated. Let's just stretch him down here. So he's going to jump, and he's going to stretch. Okay. So his arms are going to go down. And now we want his one leg to obviously be pushing him off. So that leg is going to be down as the other leg is up. There we go. Okay, so now obviously this Marine, I mean, he's thinner. he's taller than the other, the previous frame, and that is because, again, these squash and stretch. So there you go. Boom. Let's move them up just a little bit. Okay. Now, I could, if I don't want to spend too much time on an animation, I can actually just make a new frame here. Press F6 or right-click to select new frame, and I could just oh, let me give this. I could just drag him, and so now he's moving with it. It's the same picture, but in a different position. But yeah, if I wanted to save on animation time, I can do that. Okay, so now he's starting to reach his height. Actually, this should probably be more up. Same with this. There we go. As you can see, the frames are starting to get closer and closer together. Now we're reaching height. We're still not at the next keyframe, but we're reaching the height. So in other words, we want to start to, I'm going to trace this just to, so I trace that just so I can stay on model again. So we're starting to reach right height, and he's going to start to take regular form again. Now I just noticed there's a bit of a problem here. It's actually sticking out more than the next frame, which means this guy needs to be thinner too. There we go. Now the most important frames are the keyframes. Those, the ones in between, they're called between frames. They aren't nearly as important because they're going to move quicker, and the keyframes are going to be a lot more noticeable. So there we go again. So now it's just before the keyframe, so we're just gonna it's gonna almost be the same thing, just slightly off. Oh, I made that a little bit too close. There we go. And now you're gonna be like, well, do I really need to draw a frame that close? It really does make a difference. Just because the frame looks almost the same, it really adds that organic movement, and that's gives the illusion of speeding up and slowing down. So I got to put his shoulder pad. His shoulders are starting to come up now, catching up with the rest of his body. His arms too. There we go. Boom. So now he's going to start to drop. Now again, to save on animation, I can actually kind of reuse this frame. I'm going to erase the legs because I'm going to make the legs, maybe the arms too, actually. So this is actually a new frame. Here's a keyframe. This is going to be a new one where the arms are going to be slightly more up because they're dragging behind his body, and the legs are too. So they're going to be slightly more up. Okay? So you can see he's going to start to fall gradually. Okay, now we're going to have a bit of that, again, stretch. And stretch now again. If you want to save on animation, just go ahead and feel free to stretch or thin out the drawing and start stretching them. And it'll work just fine. Like unless you're going for super high quality, which I don't recommend at the beginning at all, because you need the practice with the basic forms and stuff like that. Very easy characters to animate because animation takes a long time. But yeah, I see starting to fall, which is stretching. Again, I'm just going to reuse that same picture and make them start speeding up here. I could even, if I really wanted to, exaggerate a little more and stretch him a bit more. And now he's about to hit the ground. And because he's about to hit the ground, I'm actually going to redo his legs because he's not a ball. He is a human being with feelings, and so he's going to start to put his legs down. Right there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see how that looks. Hopefully it looks good. Oh, let's get rid of the keyframes so we can. So you can start to see now. It kind of looks like he's jumping on a trampoline because normally you wouldn't be making him like bounce. He's bouncing like a ball. So in other words, he's practically jumping on a trampoline. If you wanted to make him feel like he was jumping, you would want to like just off regular ground. Then you would want to give more time between his land and his next jump. So like a little bit more ready time, him pushing him off the ground kind of thing. But guys, that's basically it. Let's go ahead and color him just so we can. Let's make him purple. Okay? No, let's make him green. Green marine. All right. So here we go. Now again, like there's like some crap in here that you would have to get rid of, whatever, if you drew over it. But let's go ahead and color them really quick with our paint bucket tool. Now the way I'm skipping from frame to frame is you could go down here and just drag your cursor, but you can also use the I don't know what the symbols are called, the greater than and less than symbols, those arrows, not the arrow keys, but the one with the apostrophe and the period, those keys. Those ones go back and forth on the frames. There we go. Let's color the rest of the marine so we can feel like we can see the result a little better. Oh. There we go. Okay. And I'm not going to do the visor since the background's already gray, but yeah. So there we go. That's it at its basic. Again, the mechanical movement is very robotic, mechanical. It's self-explanatory. It's there's no spacing, or the spacing is very even throughout the entire thing. The organic movement allows for the spacing to be slow up and speed down at the appropriate times. And then, of course, the organic and squash and stretch gives it that bit of more of that lifelike movement feel to the animation. Now, I did do a little bit of an error here, which I wasn't paying attention to. And that is, the way I could improve this is that, actually, let's play it again. It kind of looks like the Marine is looking to his side when he jumps. And that's basically because I wasn't paying attention to where his visor line was. So his visor line, that's where his visor is. That's where the other body is. And there we go. Right there, this keyframe. Now his visor line is over here, which makes him look like he's looking to one side when he's jumping, and then it'll return back. So that's something I could have paid attention to more, and then I can improve on for next time. But yeah, guys, again, thanks for watching. I hope this helped. There was somebody that was kept asking me on Twitter for to me to do more animation tutorials. So here you go. Hopefully it helps, and hopefully you can apply these principles to your next animation, or when you try, or if you're a new animator or an old animator. And yeah, guys, follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/carbotanimation with no S. So yeah. Carbot animation for Twitter. And then for Facebook, it is the exact same thing. Facebook, I do post a lot of stuff. Facebook.com/carbot animations. I am running out of room. With an S though. The Twitter one has no S because Twitter wouldn't let me. So you guys, new StarCrafts every Saturday. Well, actually, just to give you a heads up, that there will be, it'll probably be only 3 times a month. And that is because I am working on a StarCrafts custom map mod, which is going to be all 2D. I'll be making another video about that later on, just to explain to everyone who doesn't watch this video as a news feed on my channel that StarCrafts will be probably only be 3 times a month because I'm going to put some time into the StarCrafts mod, which I would really like to do. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be a lot of fun too. So, again, guys, thanks for watching. I know I already said that like 5 times, but hopefully this helped. And I will be trying to be a little bit more diligent with making tutorials. See you guys next time.